Hey Jester, let me get my wheel up. We should give you an early bird bonus. Hey Jester. Okay, random name picker wheel. I am going to turn my screen off just for a second. Well, actually, I do want to share my time. Yeah. So I do want to share my screen. See if it goes and follows here. There we go. So my screen's up there. I actually need to put my password in. I forgot about that. So I'm going to hide my screen one more time. So yeah, if you're there with me, I am just logging into my account real quick. I will reshare my screen momentarily. We got Jester in the chat. We got Yusuf on the Yusuf on the chat. Hey Yusuf, how you doing, man? I haven't you around. Are you a holder? Definitely want to get you into our raffle. So I just want to know your Discord name while I set up my Kindle. What tournament are you playing, Jester? I love myself some late nights of online poker grinding. Oh, hey Pips, I gotta make you a mod then. So yeah, Jester, what tournament are you playing? All right, I'm gonna reshare my screen now because I actually cannot. There you go. Reshare my screen. Hey Dima. I appreciate that, Jester. It's okay. It's okay. We don't mind. There's a lot of overlap in NFT poker. You know, it doesn't have to be a zero-sum game necessarily, unlike actual poker. But thank you. I appreciate you doing that out of respect, though, Jester. I really do. I'm going to wait for a few more people to file in and add their name, everyone's names that I have so far to the wheel. So I got Dima, ST, Jester, Pips, of course. I also have to add Joe Show had an entry from earlier this week for answering the raffle question right, and I'm about to look at who has the right answer, and we're actually going to jump into that in a second here. I'm about to look at our. I'm going to give everyone a couple minutes because we're still waiting for people to follow in. If you haven't gone to announcements yet, I know Jester has responded. We have a lot of people here who are very active in our announcements. We have a series going on right now where we're auctioning off our entries to. We have a $33 stake going out tonight and a $22 stake going out tonight to a poker tournament of your choosing on any of the major poker platforms. And to win that stake, in which you get to keep 2% of whatever you win, and Crypto Outlaws will pay you for your buy-in. You can answer the questions on tonight's training correctly, or you can go over to the announcements right now. We have a question about tournament poker and playing in the big blind. It is the latest posted announcements. You can answer A, B, C, or D. I'll close that at like 7:05, and we'll get started. But for the last one we had correctly, it was Joe Show, and I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name, but Sepe Poker, I think. Very, very active in our Discord. And Sepe also brought up the point that I should try to move the training to different hours. I know we do 7 o'clock Eastern every Friday, but that kind of is not fair for some of our users who are around the world, like there, who I think it's 3:30 a.m. his time, like that. So I actually met with Sepe earlier, and he won, I think, 6 raffle entries total. Let me check my chat with him. But he already answered all the questions that we were supposed to get. No, he won 5 total. 5 total so far. And so I'm going to just add him to the wheel. And I'm going through chat, adding other people in as well. So we got 5 people in chat. If you're here with us, we got 5 people in chat. I've only had a couple people post. Let me know that you're here so that I can add you to the raffle. So you might be able to win a $33 stake or a $22 stake. I'm actually adding a couple users from Outlaws before we get started. T Relentless, I know he is through Crypto Outlaws. Yeah, okay. I think that's enough. We can go ahead and get started. I really don't know how people feel about like all the names being right next to each other, so I'm going to try to randomize it a little bit. I'm going to go in the middle there, put Jester like in the middle of the pair. All right, so here we go. I'm going to jump into our presentation. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and I can add people to the wheel as need be. All right, so this week's topic is still going to be post-flop action, flop and turn. So we did the same thing last week, and to be honest, you know, I'm a teacher. My profession is I am an educator, and I do not want, you know, as teachers, we're taught not to keep pushing kids along to new material when they aren't ready, when they haven't mastered the material from before. There's no point in like trying, you know, keeping it moving. We don't want to not master these things. So we want to make sure that we have, to the best of our ability, answered a little bit more flop and turn questions before we move on to river, because, and I'm not trying to throw shade, I just don't think we are all the way ready yet. And these are it's very hard. Flop and turn are very hard, especially the turn. A lot of things change on the turn. A lot of equity changes on the turn. So we're going to continue to go to flop and turn before we go to the river. But we have new situations, okay? So we have some new situations that we can go through. And I think we can have a productive conversation here. So just putting this in Outlaw Talk. Okay, so for all situations today, just to save time, we are going to be 40 big blinds deep as our opponents. This is a tournament, not a cash game, and our opponents are taking the tournament seriously and are trying their best to win. I added this caveat for number 3 because I know in NFT poker tournaments, we might adjust our strategy, maybe play a little bit more. You may play tighter to adjust your strategy depending on the field, but we are giving you a $33 stake and a $22 stake. So we're not just getting you ready to crush NFT tournaments, but we actually want you to be ready to crush real poker tournaments on ACR or Ignition or Bet Online, whatever it might be. So these are the three assumptions that we're going to make. All right. So as always, we have 5 quizzes or 5 opportunities to win raffles today. If you're just present, you also have earned a raffle ticket just for being present at the training. So I appreciate you all for being here. And invite your friends, y'all. We have some really exciting things coming in next week for how we're going to continue to expand and grow Crypto Outlaws. But until then, winning these stakes for $33, $22, those are some serious tournaments that you can be playing in terms of online poker. $33 can get you into like a 30, 50K guarantee. Depending on what platform you play on. So, True Man Dan's here. TMD. Let me add you to our wheel. And let's go over here. Oh, it's not here. Adding that. So we True Man Dan, you made it for our first quiz question. So we are in the big blind with ace of clubs, ace of spades, eight of spades, excuse me, not ace, eight. This is a similar circumstance to last time. I don't know why my screen is timing out. Let me see if I minimize it, is it going to share better? Yeah, it seems like if I minimize it, it shares better. Anyway, okay, we're in the big blind with eight of clubs, eight of spades. Eight of clubs, eight of spades, facing a under the gun raise. The flop comes 9 of hearts, 8 of hearts, 4 of diamonds. So we flopped a set of eights and we check to our opponent. All right. They c-bet 1/4 of the pot and you call. What is the most optimal decision when the turn comes the king of spades? Okay, I just wanted to read it out loud. I'm going to try full screen it again because I think it's a little hard to see. Hopefully, once I full screen it, it will not just see a loading screen, Freddie. But essentially, under the gun raises, everybody folds. Okay, so this is a heads-up situation. You're in the big blind with 8 of clubs, 8 of spades, facing a UTG raise. Everyone else is folded. We're going heads up to the flop. The flop comes 9 of hearts, 8 of hearts, 4 of diamonds. So we have flopped a set of eights and check to your opponent. They c-bet 1/4 pot. So the under the gun raiser c-bets 1/4 pot, and we're just going to call. The turn comes the king of spades. What is the most optimal decision? And we have talked about this in the past where, you want to be doing maybe all 4 of these options sometimes. Sometimes you want to check. Sometimes you want to bet. Sometimes you want to bet bigger, smaller. These are all viable options, but there is, according to the GTO calculator on Modern Poker Theory, the book we are studying from, a best option. So I'm going to give everyone about 45 seconds to choose what they believe the best option here is. So we have flopped a set of eights on 9 of hearts, 8 of hearts, 4 of diamonds. What is the optimal decision? While you're waiting, I've decided I'm going to try to make it a little bit more in-depth here and award partial credit points. If you want to explain your reasoning, I feel like I've gained so much insight into how you all think, and we have learned together by sharing our reasoning. So while you're waiting for everyone to type their answer, go ahead and explain your reasoning. So True Man Dan, you said c-bet 2/3 pot. How can you explain why you believe that is the right choice to make? I do want, because we can log into the book and actually see why this is the correct or incorrect decision. So we can read through it, and then I'm going to award partial credit for some correct answers. So if you missed 3 questions, but you get partial credit for explaining your reasoning and helping us have some things to talk through, then I'm going to give you, I still want to give you raffle tickets, So if you're justifying your responses, even if you are missing out, but you're right on the right reasoning, because these are, they're not too far away from each other. Obviously, you're betting, right? So they're not too dissimilar. So I do want to also point out, someone thought 1.2x was like half pot and it was a typo. No, it's not a typo. That's not a half pot bet. That's 1.2 big blind. So you're making like a really, really tiny bet, maybe for value or something, trying to keep them in the pot. That was 1.2 big blinds, which is actually not an uncommon approach according to GTO. So I was surprised to learn that. But, a very small bet is not the worst thing, especially when you're really, really deep in the tournament. So those are our 4 options. So Dima Street, please elaborate. Hey, Mary Rose, good to see you in the chat. Please let me know your Discord name so that I can award you with uh, a raffle ticket entry. Mary Rose 13. Okay. Mary Rose 13 will add you to the raffle. Pips, can you make sure everyone that I'm adding is also a holder on Discord? Can you help me out with that, Pips? And of course, Pips, we always encourage our friendly neighborhood moderator to participate. So I'm waiting for your answer here, Pips. Oh, I forgot to on the Kindle. I also have to do that. Please excuse my wife's Gmail account name. That's not my Gmail account name. That is my wife's. So was it Gmail or Yahoo? I'm not sure if she had a Gmail or a Yahoo. I really don't know. Maybe I'm just guessing it wrong. I'm about to get my wife locked out of her account before. I really don't want to. What is it? Did I get it? Nope, I didn't get it. All right, well, I will try to log in for the explanations either way. Phone, so yeah, I'll just have to trust me. Okay. So I've had an answer from Demon Street, Mary Rose. Everyone is in favor of betting. And actually, the most GTO optimal response is, let's look at this chart together. So the best cards for out of position, which is us, donk bet, is actually going to be a 9. I'm going to get this a little bigger. So turn cards that are a 9, 8, or 4 that pair the board, 7, 6, and 5s, are favorable for us. So remember, you always want to think of what, not just what you have, but what does your opponent expect you to have, right? So when we lead out on the turn, how do we make it make sense? Really, how do we make it make sense? So under the gun is probably not raising with anything that really hit this flop. That 9 of hearts, 8 of hearts, 4 diamonds, they probably don't have anything really strong. That king of spades is more likely to be in their range than our range. They're more likely going to have ace king suited, ace king offsuit, king queen suited, maybe some king jack suited, something like that. That king of spades is actually a good card for them. And even if they don't hit that king of spades, they know that it is more likely for them to have a king instead of the big blind who's just defending his big blind. So even if they have something like ace queen, they might be bigger on the turn trying to represent that king instead of not representing that king. So it's a little bit hard to see on the chart, but that little gray sliver that you see up here with the strong hand was supposed to be for raising, or betting. And then the majority of the time we're betting or checking. Checking is the most common approach here because we're allowing our opponent to either bluff at the king of spades because they know they're supposed to represent it, or it actually improve their hand, so they will bet it, and then we get to check raise. I do love what you're saying, True Man Dan, about trying to get value as soon as possible, but we really want to I understand it's you know it's scary because there's two hearts out there. There's straight draw possibilities as well. You don't get drawn out on, but you have to maximize your value in poker, and you want to inflate this pot as big as possible. If we bet 2/3 pot, even if they have a king, they're probably going to just be flat calling. Whereas if we let them bet with something like ace king and then we raise them, we've accumulated the value of the pot. We've maximized value because let's say they have ace queen, right? Let's say they have ace queen on this board. They know they're supposed to represent the king of spades. So they might bet on the turn if we check back to them. They might think we're scared. But if we bet 2/3 pot into them and they're holding ace queen, are they going to call? Probably not. They're probably not going to call. They're probably going to throw it away, right? So if we check to them, they might bet ace queen because they know a king is something they're supposed to represent. Or they might actually literally have a king in their hand from ace king or king queen, and so they bet and we raise and they will call. Either way, we're getting value from bluffs that wouldn't happen if we bet into them, right? We don't want to scare them away. They might have a flush draw, they might have flopped a flush draw, but you really only flop a flush draw like 11% of the time. And how likely is it that they have straights? I don't think they're raising under the gun with 10 jack or 6-7 or anything like that, especially if we're not talking about like a $33, $22 tournament. So I agree with the idea of trying to get that value from them. We do want to bet bigger because they are going to give us that value. But most of the time, checking is the best option, letting them continue their betting. Or if they've really missed the board and they're really scared, they like say they have nothing, like maybe they do have ace queen and they elect to check, but they spike a ace on the river. Then we can bet like full pot and maximize our value. Versus if we bet 2/3 pot right now and they don't have anything on this board, it's just not GTO optimal. So according to the book, checking is the response. All right, so we didn't have anyone who said check in the chat. I do want to give TMD. I'm going to give you some partial credit points there, sir. So if we build up 3 partial credit points, we will get another point. All right, quiz 2. Same situation, but now we're going to flip positions. Now we're the under the gun raiser, just to give perspective. So we are under the gun, and we will look down at king of clubs, king of diamonds. We raise 2.2 big blinds, and it falls to the big blind who calls. The flop comes 9 hearts, 8 hearts, 4 diamonds. The big blind checks to us now that we're in the under the gun position, and we bet. We're the C betters. They call, and the king of spades comes on the turn. What is the most optimal decision when we see the king of spades? Okay. And we're going to assume that they check back to us. So we're flipping this a little bit. What's the most optimal decision on a turn of king of spades when BB checks to us? Just to elaborate. Should we bet 1.2 big blinds, bet 1/3 pot, bet 3/4 pot, or check? So we're flipping it. Yeah, true, man. I do see high pockets calling a bigger bet, but if we bet 2/3 pot, it's not. I mean, think about our opponent. If our opponent bets like 1/3 pot, when we check raise them, we're usually typically doing like 3x their bet, right? So now we can get a full pot of value. So if they bet 1/3 pot on that turn, and we check raise them 3 times their bet, then we've now added a whole pot size value instead of just a 2/3 pot value, which is what we want. Remember to try to explain your reasoning if you can. I'll try one more time to log into my wife's email accounts on our Kindle. Oh, I got it. Nice. Modern Poker Theory. You can see like I have kids. You can tell by what we read, but that's okay. And let's hopefully I'll be able to flip to the answer in the book. I don't want to give too much now though, so make sure I'll let you answer this question. All right, we have a couple B's, 3 B's. I'll wait for True Man. Oh, it's True Man Dan said C again with the race pre-flop and C bet the king should make us feel good despite the draw. So now everyone's leaning towards a bigger bet rather than a smaller bet. Nice. Now, hopefully, I'll be able to actually open the Kindle reader so that we can see together what's going on here. And then we can talk about the logic, or even I can read from the logic, and that'll be even better. So let's see what page it was on. I think it was like towards the end. What page is this? 667? 667? Close to that? No, not 660. 660. Oh, no, that's not the right page. Let's see. $652. There you go. All right, so let's see what the book has to say about what we should do here in our 9 of hearts, 8 of hearts, 4 diamonds position. I really went all the way through this. This is our last example with this texture, so that's okay. Oh no, this is actually the flop. We need to go to the turn. But y'all can kind of get an idea of how like comprehensive this is. Like this is some really good stuff that Zach has invested for us to have. Where is our turn? I think it's closer over here. Yep, GTO turn. Here we go. So yeah, it takes you through the exact same situation on turn, flop, and river. So we're going to get to river action next week, probably with the same thing. So, all right, 9 of hearts, 8 of hearts, 4 diamonds. When it goes check, check, check. This is kind of a range of what you should do, but we also got to look at our hand. Started with kings, that's really strong. So let's see how we bet 2/3 pot when we have a very strong hand. Okay, so when check bet call, right? That's what we said we have. And just so you see an equity distribution here, most of the time under the gun when it goes check bet call, under the gun is more likely to have a stronger hand, while the big blind is much less likely to have a strong hand. But they're more likely, and this is what I always thought was interesting as well. Like it goes check bet call on that arrangement. You see the good hands that big blind has. If you missed one of our trainings, we talked about this. Even though they have less like really strong hands, they also have more good hands, which is interesting. But I'm getting a little bit distracted. So let's go back to what we were supposed to do. So under the gun strategy, when it goes check, bet, call, check again, right? Now we're flipped into the king's position. What is the best option here? So the worst option is to bet small. Betting 1.2 or betting 1/3 pot are the worst options. Checking, interestingly enough, is the second best option. I guess maybe you want to let them catch up on the river or induce a bluff, or even if they make a hard heart, you might get all the stacks in. Not really sure, but most optimally is to bet 2/3. So we did have some people get that correct. So betting 2/3 part, we got True Man Dan getting that correct, and Demon Streets. But I do like Mary Rose's reasoning. And then Mary Rose saying check, I'm going to give her a partial credit point. So she accumulates more partial credit points. She can as well get another raffle ticket. But True Man Dan, you had that right. And Demon Street, we also had one right. So I will add that in. True Man says, I was thinking the first scenario would call. It feels like it would feel like you took my action. That's a good point. It also matters, like, if we're in position, if someone takes your action by betting 2/3 pot on that turn, you're kind of going to be questioning what's going on, right? So even with the king on the turn, you're going to question your strength because that's very weird to do to see that donk bet lead, which would make you more wary. We check, right? That's the point. We kind of want to check. It might maximize our value when we check raise. They could think that we're bluffing, or that they might think we might just have a solo king. It's kind of weird, that donk bet. It does throw people off. And also, like I said, True Man Dan, it's not that you should never donk bet, but the most optimal decision was to check raise in that situation. Demistry is not a holder, unfortunately. Okay, Demistry, I'm sorry. I will see if maybe I can do a non-holder reward for you when I get back with Zach. So if you win, just open a ticket and I'll talk to Zach about it. But our $33 and our $22 ticket are for holders tonight. Okay, let's get to a new situation on quiz 3. This one is interesting. Quiz 3. You're in the big blind with 3-4 of clubs. Under the gun raises 2.2 big blinds, and it folds to you and you call. Right? You're going to defend 3-4 of clubs. It's tricky, sneaky hand. You got disconnected, so you connector. Flop comes ace of hearts, queen of diamonds, 3 of spades. You check, and under the gun bets pretty sizable, 2/3 pot. What is the most GTO optimal approach? Is it to raise 50% of the pot, raise 25% of the pot, call, or fold? Well, Rich, good to see you. While everyone contemplates what we should do in this situation, I'll add Lolo to our wheel of names. It's not too late, Lolo, to get some raffle entries. I'm actually going to, after this question, I will jump to our Discord and see who has answered the question right from the announcements. So if you haven't done that yet, make sure you get a chance to jump to the Discord and answer the announcements question, so we get another opportunity for raffle prizes there. All right, everybody, take another 45 seconds. This is pretty straightforward. You don't get that much time to think in poker. So, I mean, we come across this situation all the time. Defend the big blind. Under the gun continues with a big continuation bet, 2/3 pot. What is the most GTO optimal approach? Demistry, the training is not only for holders. The raffles, actually, in the past, we have awarded prizes to non-holders. We definitely have. I just don't have the go from Zach tonight. I gave him out of my personal wallet in the past, but it's a little bit taxing, and I do not make as much money as Zach. But we are going to. I'll talk to him and see what he can do. So yeah, Demo, let me see what we can do. Okay. So we're kind of split here. A couple of us think we should be folding. A couple of us think it's a flat call. Haven't seen anyone choose the raising options yet. Pips is also saying he'll fold, so is Lower Rich. Okay, I think that's everyone. So I will, before I even find the position in the book to see a talk through, I just want to toss it into our no limit hold'em calculator. I already have it set. So let's say our opponent was raising under the gun with like ace king. Let's get ace king. We are in pretty tough shape. We have 20% equity, right? 20% equity. Not really even 18% equity. If our opponent bets 2/3 pot, and I'm going to use simple numbers, all right? Let me go to my calculator. I think some of you all have seen me use this before. Our opponent's betting 2/3 pot, and we're going to use simple numbers. Okay, let's just say after all of the antes, small blind, big blind, raising, and everything, let's just call the pot 100. Let's say the pot is out of 100. And if our opponent bets 2/3 pot, they're betting 67 into 100. So 67 plus 100 is 167, pretty straightforward. And it's 67 for us to call. Out of 167 to win, that means, we only need about 40% equity, 40% equity to continue this hand if they have something like ace king. IT Guy Bear, more than happy to. More than happy. Thanks for joining us, IT. I'm going to add you to our wheel. So yeah, we're in tough shape because we don't have 40% equity, as we've seen in the calculator. But raising under the gun is not always going to be ace king, right? It could be a lot of different hands. That might have even missed this flop. So it might be like something like king jack, which still has a ton of equity, or king queen. It's interesting here as well because king queen is essentially an ace in our situation, right? King queen, ace jack could definitely be a possibility. Someone holding ace jack. So there's a lot of combinations of hands where we are truly dogs, right? It doesn't really favor us at all. But when the turn comes, like let's say the turn comes a 4 of diamonds, we become huge dogs, and this invokes something called implied odds, right? What are the implied odds that if we actually make a stronger hand, like a 4 or another 3 on the turn, what are the odds we can stack our opponent or take most of their chips? If my opponent is holding like ace king here in this situation, and I'm just defending from the big blind, I'm probably going to take most of their stack. I'm probably going to take most of their stack when I do make my hand. So I think, in my personal opinion, and there's also a lot of other hands that make it, like king king, for example. King king is an option that on the flop, yes, it dominates us, but it is probably going to be scared when we call that flop. When they c-bet the flop and we call, we are going to realize equity because they're going to let us see cards. Like, for example, even if we don't get the next card, it's not a 3 or 4. Say king king c-bets this flop with a huge equity advantage. They just don't know what we have, right? But they have a huge equity advantage. And then we call 9 of clubs on the turn. That's very concerning for them, That's kind of concerning. They still have a huge equity advantage. Check, and they check back. They say they check back, and it's the 6 of clubs on the turn. Now we might say they don't have an ace. We can bluff this river, and we can probably bluff king king off their hand. Or instead of just seeing one turn card where, it's not, we only have 5 cards to improve our hand on the turn, which that's why we only have about 20% equity. 5 times 4 is 20. We might not see it on the turn, but if he is going to check back the turn, which he will with king king, then we'll get to see, we'll not only get those one chance to draw the turn once, we'll get it twice. Because he's going to check back this turn most of the time when he has king king. We might actually make it by the river and get some value from a river bet. So when we go to what the modern poker theory says in this situation, when we go to our ace queen 3 situation, when we have a weak hand, and a weak hand is different from trash. A weak hand is different from trash. Trash would be like if we had like queen high, something like totally not playable. 3-4 is bottom pair. It's not the worst thing in the world. So where is my ace queen situation? Oh yeah, it's because this is a flop situation, and we got to go all the way back to the flop. Where are we on the flop? These are all hypotheticals. There's our 9-8-4. Here we go. Ace queen 3. Okay. So big blind versus UTG when they have a 2/3 pot continuation bet. Actually, we are never folding. We are never folding. We're strong, of course. We're sometimes folding if we are weak, right? So a lot of y'all said fold. So I'm going to give you partial points for fold if you did. So if you have enough partial points, you're going to win a extra ticket. But the most GTO approach is to call. We are very, very rarely raising, which makes sense, but we are calling 53% of the time, more than we are folding. So let me see who said call. Mary Rose said call. Jester said call. So I'm going to add Mary Rose and Jester. Jester. Mary Rose. And True Man Dan, I think this is your third partial credit one. No, this is your second partial credit one. You need one more to earn a raffle ticket. So your reasoning is pretty good, right? You had the second best GTO decision. Most of the time we just want to throw it away. But because we're pretty deep at 40 big blinds, we do want to give it a shot to try and hit Yahtzee on the turn of river, especially because there's a lot of hands that he might have, like Queen, not Queen, King, or like Jack, or King, that are going to give us equity and allow us to see two turn card, or a river and a turn card. So we do want to call most of the time. According to the chart, that is the most GTO approach. Okay. So, IT guy, make sure you participate in the next quiz question, all right? So you can get a chance to win this raffle. I'm going to jump over to our chat over here. And let's see who was right in terms of the announcements question. All right, going down to announcements. I apologize for the speed of my internet. It's not as bad as our second session. During my second session, my internet was so slow. It was not very good at all. Oh, but I say that and I'm like, so instead of, I'm just going to go back to my presentation. I'll just use my phone to see who answered correctly. And then I'll add the raffle ticket entries there. True Man Dan, if you are willing to invest in me getting that fiber, I will. Right now, I just don't have it in the budget. Okay, in the announcements, it was a question about what is the only hand that GTO recommends to throw instead of calling under the gun raises. We had ace queen suited, pocket nines, ace two suited, and jack 10. The correct answer was ace two suited. So Saper is going to get another raffle entry there. I would find, you know what, I will try to find it, and I'll find it later. I will post the picture in chat so y'all know that I'm not just making this stuff up. I'll post the answer in announcements, but it was ace two suited, and only Saper got that one right. So he's going to get that one. And if you want to know the reason as to why ace two suited is the only one you would raise, you really want to see a flop with ace queen, nines, and jack 10. Ace two, you're not sure if you want to see a flop with ace two suited. So for that situation, right, if we are on the button, we're on the button saying we have like some guy over here is raising under the gun. So if this is small blind, big blind, this guy is probably raising pretty strong. Like he might have king, right? So say he has some monster hand he's raising with, and we're over here and we have ace two suited. It's just ace two hearts. I'm not sure I want to see a flop, you know, or I could be in a worst case scenario. Like maybe this guy's ace king. And so if I flop an ace, I don't even know if I'm good, right? I'm not even sure if I'm good if I flop an ace. So I'm going to turn my hand into a bluff. I have an ace that's a blocker. So it's less likely that my opponent has ace king, even though in this case they do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to 3-bet, and that's going to signal to my opponent that I have a monster, right? So even when the flop comes like queen, excuse me, if the flop comes something like queen 7, 8, 8, 5, something random, some you know, average flop where nobody hits, I'm the pre-flop aggressor. I'm the one who 3-bet. If ace king calls that 3-bet, they're going to check this flop, and when I c-bet, this guy's going to fold. He's going to just assume I have a monster, and he doesn't want to mess with it, right? So that's really going to help. In a case where he is like super nutted and he does have king, he's probably not going to flat me. He's going to raise me, right? So when I 3-bet my ace two, he's going to 4-bet me, and I'm going to know I'm probably not going to be able to bluff him off of like a hand, even if it were to come queen of clubs, eight of diamonds, five of hearts, I'm probably not going to be able to bluff him. So when he four bets me, I'm not even going to call. I'm just going to throw my hand away. When you have that ace two on the button, you're bluffing. You're bluffing, and you're setting yourself up to bluff on the flop. You don't really have that much equity. Even if I remember, let's go back to what I had. Say this guy does have another combination ace king. I do want to see a hand. If I have nines, I'm a favorite here. I do want to see a flop. I have a ton of equity. Jack 10, I have a ton of equity. More than ace 2. He's 39.6% versus, what was it, 26%? Yeah, so Jack 10 has more equity than ace 2. So I'm turning my hand into a bluff by raising with ace 2 on the button, but it's not a bad bluff. Pat G, going to add you to my wheel. Welcome to the stream, man. Thank you for joining us. We have, I think, one more quiz question to go. One more quiz question to go. Yep. One more quiz question before we wrap it up, everybody. This one's a longer one, so let's really think through this one. Remember, actually, let me go back to the book real quick. Remember, everything in real poker is a distribution of actions, right? You shouldn't be doing anything 100% of the time, because poker is a interpersonal game. If you have a read that your opponent is really loose, or if you have a read that your opponent is really aggressive, you have to adjust your strategy to accommodate the GTO approach, right? You have to know, are they a calling station? Are they going to fold? Are they a nit? Will they call my c-bet? Will they fold to a raise, et cetera, et cetera? Nothing is perfect ABC, white and black in poker. You have to inform the GTO approach with your reads on people. So everything is a range, right? So that's why we have, sometimes you're going to call 53% of the time, you're going to fold 45% of the time, et cetera, et cetera. So I want us to start thinking about those ranges, and we're going to use those ranges to match up our last scenario. So I'm going to present my scenario first, and then I'm going to explain to everyone how to answer this question, because you don't answer this question A, B, C, D. Okay? So let's match the correct answers. You are in the big blind with 4 of clubs, 4 of spades. Action folds to the button. So this is not under the gun now. This is the button. Who raises to 2 big blinds? Very standard play in modern poker theory. Small blind folds and you flat call. The flop comes jack of spades, 6 of hearts, 6 of diamonds. You might have actually seen me when I was flipping through the pages, this example. But it's so comprehensive, I don't think anyone knows the answer even now. So you check, and the button C bets 1.2 big blinds. So probably like 20% pot, 20% pot bet, maybe a little less if we have antes in play. So you should use all the following actions some of the time, but I want you to match each action with the GTO percentage of the time you should make each decision. So how do you answer this question? You don't answer A, B, C, or D this time. Instead, tell me what percentage of the time should we raise 50% of the pot. And now over here, I just put it in chronological order, least to greatest. So I not match these directly up for you. You're going to have to mix them up. Oh, we can't see option D? My bad. That is because of restream. Option D is just fold, Dan. So option D is fold. I am going to adjust my slide so I can actually move it over. I totally forgot that restream is advertising. I am not able to see that on my end, but we're going to move D over. No, I don't want to have a new one. I'm going to do it like this. Yeah. D. You should be able to see it now. Option D is fold, hopefully. When I do full screen, it'll move. I feel like it's still going to be blocked. Yeah, I'm going to have to probably do another space. It looks like the crypto, yeah. I'm going to give more space to that fold option. But D's fold. So I'm going to give everyone 2 minutes for this question. So how you answer this question isn't saying A, B, C, or D. Instead, you're saying what percentage of the time should I do A? Is it 2% of the time, 8% of the time, 15%, 75%? Truman Dan does a great job of answering these types of questions, so you can check for yourself in a second. I will do an example in the chat. 99%, B, 1%, C. I'm going to use numbers that I'm not using. 0%, D, 0%. Well, Rich just did a response that kind of represents how you would want to do it. So Willow saying we should raise 50% pots 75% of the time, raise 25% pot 15% of the time, call 8% of the time, and fold 2% of the time. Mary Rose, it's not just one answer. You're actually telling me how often should you fold. You know, how often should you raise 25% of the pot? It's going to be different each time. And even though I a bunch of space, D still is not showing up. So let me reformat it one more time. Sorry, y'all. And go again. Jester has said fold 2% of the time, call 8% of the time, raise 25% of the time, and no, raise 25%, 75%, and raise 50%, 50%. Okay. I'm gonna give everyone one more minute. And how this is gonna work is if you match 2 correctly, you're gonna get a raffle entry. If you match 4 correctly, you will get a raffle entry. And if you can explain your reasoning, so this, I'm going to give everyone some time to explain your reasoning. If you explain your reasoning and it at least aligns with what the book is trying to teach us, I will round up your answer. So, for example, if you only answer 1 correct, I'll round up your answer and still give you a raffle ticket entry. If you answer 3 correct, I will still round up your answer and give you 2 raffle ticket entries. Basically, each of these correct answers is half a point. All right. No, Jester, you're all good. I can follow you with what you're trying to say there. I'll give everyone about 30 more seconds, and then I am in my phone trying to find the right page where this was on, so that I don't have to just keep flipping through. This is definitely a flop section, so I know I'm in the flop examples. I think this is flop example 4. Maybe not. We'll see. It is flop example 4. Yeah, I found it. All right, so that's page 715. All right, so everyone take one last chance to answer. About 10, 15 more seconds left. We have a very diverse range of answers here. DM Streets. Got you. DM Streets. Was I waiting on anyone? I feel like Lolo did answer. Okay. So yeah, everyone has answered. Pips has answered. All right. Let's reveal the distribution. Let's go to the book. I think it's page 715. So where's my? There we go. 715. Who knew you could write a 700-page book about poker? I think that's incredible. 700 pages about poker. All right, it's loading. Who was it that was making a joke about my internet? Gotta take 5 raffle tickets from you. Okay. Come on. There we go. Oh. It got me to page 714. I could have sworn. True Man Dan, you are shadow banned. All right, so when we face this very small min bet, right, 1.2 big blinds, what are we supposed to do most of the time? Our hand isn't trash, you know. We don't have 6, 7 of spades or something, or not. Well, 6, 7, not, excuse me, 7, 8 of spades would be trash. 7, 8 of spades is trash. Like queen trash here. We're not very strong. A strong hand would qualify like as a 6, pretty much any 6 that we have, or Jack, of course. Any six or jack. A good hand would be like queen jack. Queen jack, pretty good here. A weak hand is what we have, a pocket pair. It's not nothing, it's a pocket pair, but it's not trash. So what are we doing? Well, 15% of the time, we're raising. So all you psychos in the chat who said we're raising 15% of the time, you got a half point right there. So my psychos in the chat were Jester, True Man Dan. Who else said raise 15% of the time? Did Willow say? Let me check what Willow said. Nope, Willow is full. Willow is the craziest. If you see Willow at a table, he's an absolute psychopath. He is raising 50% of the pot, 75% of the time. That's what he thinks is appropriate. So he is going to run you over at the poker table. No, alas, it's only 15% of the time do we raise 50%. So Jester and True Man Dan. No. It's Jester and True Man Dan got 15% there. And 2% of the time, we are going to be raising 25%. So a small raise doesn't accomplish anything here. It's really gets us in trouble, or I guess according to GTO, they don't think it is going to really represent a 6. When you raise, you're saying you have it, right? It doesn't matter if you raise at that point. You're saying you have it. Like you have to be convincing when you're saying you have it. And it's not something you do most of the time, because if you really had a 6 in your hand or pocket jacks, you're probably going to trap and you're probably going to just call. So you have to really know your opponent to think this is going to work. That they're going to play back at you. So that's why this is less GTO. So you're going to call 75% of the time. And who did I have that's calling? Who did I have B for 2%? Anyone have B for 2%? No one had B 2%. Raise 20, B 2%. No. So no one got B. C was calling. That one we did have a few people. 75% of the time you should call. I think we had a few at least. Yeah. Pips got it right. No one else got it right besides on the call on calling being right. So calling and just seeing another street is really what we want to do here. Because we want to keep our opponent's bluffs in, right? We want to keep their bluffs in. If they have, let's say they have like ace king and they're just really strong and they're bluffing on this board. Let's try this out. Let's put this in the calculator. Was it jack of spades? Say they have jack of spades, 6 of hearts, 6 of diamonds. And we put our 4-4 in here, our little 4-4, 4 clubs, 4 spades, and they have ace king. We have a 60% chance, 60% equity in this pot. We want to bluff. So even if it comes like, queen, they might fire another bullet. They picked up a gut shot draw. And then maybe it's a blank on the river, like a 7. We've allowed to bluff an additional 2 streets value if we can, maximize your value. So, calling is just the most logical approach. Even if they had something like ace jack, calling lets us minimize it because we're crushed, right? So we don't want to raise this pot often if we're crushed. We want to raise it if we're playing against someone loose aggressive and we don't want them to have the equity and we don't really want to face another 3 bets, that they could have anything, and we really want to know where we're at. If we're facing someone who could have a 6 in their hand or ace king, we just really don't know. A raise makes sense because then we will definitely know where we're at when they call or fold to the raise. But knowing that you're really raising against those loose aggressive types where you really want to know, you're going to lean to the larger raise size because the loose aggressive is probably not going to fold to a small raise size. So there's no point. If the point is to know where you're at then. Make a 50% raise so you can really know, because if you raise 25%, the guy's going to call with any garbage he has anyway. So he really might call with 1 over, like queen 10 or something, and just think this guy has a jack. And then if that guy is that type of player, you want to get that as much value as possible. So, or just get him to throw away his hand and deny his equity. It's not a bad strategy either. But according to the book, let's see why this is. On jack 6-6, the big blind's range gets heavily biased with a reasonable amount of strong hands. that connect trip sixes, and this results in the big blind having a healthy check raise range of about 27%. Pretty healthy, using mostly the bigger check raise size. The big blind net, they would always 3-bet 6-6 pre-flop. So the strongest hands belong to the UTG raiser. Ace high hands are always check called. Under pairs 4-4 and 2-2 are always check called. Air queen 7 with backdoor flush draw can get check raised. Actually, this is really interesting to me. Without a backdoor flush draw, you can even go for a call here and try to play on later streets. So let me see. We didn't get anyone on the call. Who said fold? What was the distribution for fold? 8%. Who's folding 8% of the time here? Mary Rose is folding 8% of the time. And True Man Dan is folding 8% of the time. So True Man Dan, you nailed 2 of these questions. You were the leader here. You got 1 answer correct and a partial. So definitely do 2 of those. And I had someone else who had something else right. I believe it was Jester. Jester had the phrasing correct for Jester. So I'm going to wrap everyone up who got this one right. It looks like not a lot of people got this one right. Okay, so that's pretty much. Does anyone have any questions there? Did anyone want me to flip through the book for further explanation on this, or was this pretty straightforward? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, so we are going to spin the wheel. All right. We have a bunch of names up here. We're doing the $33 ticket and then the $22 ticket. Rose, congratulations. You are our first winner. So you will win either a $33 ticket or a $22 ticket. Is your choice. You know, if you have a tournament, and I will say this, like if you play on a tournament where it's like a $20 buy-in tournament, which is the best tournament of the night, or $22 buy-in, and you don't see a good $33 tournament, don't use the $33 ticket. 22 is just fine. So I'm going to remove Mary from the wheel now, and we'll see who gets these second tickets. Jester, you have gotten the second tickets. So True Man Dan, going to choose an online poker. Not True Man Dan, excuse me. Rose is going to choose a poker tournament. Then sure you will choose an online poker tournament. Please open the ticket in the Discord, and we will make sure we get those funds to you as soon as possible to play. And that's going to be it for tonight, y'all. Next week, we're doing a big push to get more people involved in the trainings and to increase mints. So stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of interesting things for holders coming next week when we have Beckett back from his much well-deserved vacation. And we look forward to seeing you then. Everyone have a great weekend, and I will see you all in the Discord. Have a good night, everybody.